All right, Alabama 63, Ole Miss 48. We've got notes right here on Positively Ole Miss. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis or at Ole Positively. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Pomcast or follow our Facebook group at Positively Ole Miss. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Positively Ole Miss and follow us on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss. If audio is your bag, you can catch us on all the podcatchers, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, the whole 9 yards. We're available. So we probably need to talk about this game. And offensively, it was a masterclass. It's the most points ever scored on Alabama by an unranked team. We went for 647 yards. We were 9 for 17 on third down. We had 31 first downs. And we even won time of possession. And it got to a point where the problem in that game was two bad snaps that just shut us down both times. Two bad snaps. Now, the margin for error of this team is so small. And when you add that you're playing the number 2 team in the country, it gets even smaller. So you end up losing by 15 points, just like we did to Florida, really. We put a massive amount of yards and massive amount of points, and it was an incredibly fun game. But, I mean, we still have a ways to go. But what better thing to put on tapes to defensive recruits than that performance? Anybody that plays defensive football, that loves defensive football, can look at that and see that if they only had a defense, they would have won that game. And Alabama being the gold standard that they are, if they only have a defense, they're going to win a lot of games. I'd also like to say, back the Brinks truck up to Lane Kiffin. Pay him whatever he wants. That is a team that I saw tonight played without fear. That is a team that was extremely well drilled and ready to play. Against that, that's a team that has a top 5 offense in the country. I've seen Clemson, I've seen Alabama, and now I've seen them. They absolutely weren't being in that category. Putting up 48 points against Alabama whenever we are the equivalent of 2012. We are the equivalent of 2012. And we put 48 points on there, and they played Alabama with absolutely no fear. You saw the confidence start. And one thing that I noticed, and that the number of reps, the lack of fall and lack of spring practice that set us behind. It's starting to even out. I noticed that. I saw kids playing especially on the offensive side, with confidence. On the defensive side, the confidence is shot. The jet sweep at the end was just a bust with the eyes. I know everybody hates that, eyes in the wrong place. Looking in the backfield at Najee Harris and didn't see the jet sweep, and there was nobody there to make that play because he was literally looking at Najee Harris. So we have to recruit our way out defensively. This is a problem that goes back to, I don't know, the year after the Sugar Bowl-ish. And from there, we have struggled on the defensive side of the ball. We did all right last year with Mike McIntyre, but we had a dominant defensive line. So we have to recruit in that area. And if you are a defensive recruit, You can go play at Ole Miss, play in the best conference in America, and go to the league because you're going to come in there as a freshman and you're going to play. Period. All those dudes on offense can come back next year. We're probably going to lose Elijah Moore, but we're also probably going to gain Braylon Brown, who has 5-star potential, who's at St. Thomas Aquinas, Elijah Moore's high school right now. I know a lot of people are going to be upset with what they saw. What people need to see is the path forward that is paved. And that is an elite top 5 in the country offense. We've played the 2 best teams we're going to play. We lost to both of them by 15 points. We beat Kentucky, and now we can kind of go into our schedule. It's going to get a little bit worse. But defensively, you can recruit to this. You have playing time, offense, cool coaches, everything you need, SEC, best competition, NFL. It's all right there for the taking. We were really 2 bad snaps tonight away from it. Now, I'm not even going to go into the defensive side of the ball because they have problems. Giving up over 400 yards passing and over 300 yards rushing, that's a problem. But you know what? Alabama can kind of say that too. They gave up 379 passing and 268 rushing. It reminded me a little bit of the Texas game in 2012. Except that was a bigger blowout, but it showed the team had some fight to people. And everybody was watching that game as it got up to 42-42 or whatever it was. Everybody was watching that game. Because everyone is curious. Will Nick Saban lose to Lane Kiffin? It was a magnifying glass on the program. And you can recruit that way. And also, since Lane recruits differently, grad transfers watch that game. Transfers watch that game. I expect a makeover of the defensive side of the ball. And I expect the boys from New Jersey, I think it's Tywone Malone and the kid from Philly, Tysheem Johnson, to have an immediate impact on this team. I expect at this point to get Tysheem Johnson. I've heard nothing to back that up, other than the fact that this team has momentum for being 1-2. You can see that side of the ball. Once that gets cleared up, there's going to be a lot of winning. And all those guys can come back and none of the clock counts. It's a lot of winning. It's right around the corner. Next up, we have Arkansas. Arkansas is much better than people thought at the beginning of the season, but we need to understand that national narratives from media personnel is not an accurate representation of what they're going to be. They take a data point and then they just go out to infinity. They take another data, the next week it be another data point, and they'll take that out to the infinity. When in reality, it's all isolated games. Everything is individual. There is no going out to infinity. So, that game, there's a lot that can be built on that game. You just played number 2, potentially the best offense in the country, and you found out that you have an equally good offense, top 5 in the country. Matt Corral is a dude, 21 of 28, 365 yards and 2 touchdowns. 200-yard rushers. Snoop Connor got 21 carries for 128. Jerry and Ely got 19 for 120. We need to, if you go back to watch boot camp in the offense, we were 2-to-1 run to pass today. We just ran the ball down their throat and then hit them with deep shots off of that because we could run the ball down their throat. Alabama, we had 2 100-yard rushers. 57 carries, 268 yards total. Matt Corral ended up with 40 yards, and he got sacked a few times. That dropped that down a little bit. But that game turned on 2 bad snaps. We got to clean that up. But that is part of this. This is, like I said, the longest developmental spring ever. If you're not doing developmental stuff, you're doing it wrong. It looks like we're doing developmental stuff. The defense did look better from last week. They just were worn out at the end. But they did look better than last week. Stats are not going to show up. The score is not going to show up. But Alabama is a top 5 offense. Kentucky is not. Alabama is a better offense than we saw in week 1. But we just need to get dudes over there. Somebody that wants to come in, play a little defense. There's a path to win big here in 3 years. You can see it. You can absolutely see that path. And it starts with this recruiting class. Do the best we can. Make the best we can out of this season. And then recruit. Next year, Otis Reese, Jacob Springer will go into that secondary. That's instant improvement on the defensive side of the ball. That's a former top 100 recruit and an all-conference player from the American. That is an improvement, definitely. Just got to wait till next year to get it. So, like I've told you many times before, celebrate the positives. The positives all day are the fact that offense is nearly unstoppable. The only way anybody has stopped it is if we stopped ourselves. We've scored 35, 42, and 48 points against 2 top 5 teams and Kentucky on the road. That's what this offense has done. Matt Corral's over 1,000 yards. He's thrown 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. Snoop Connor was the dude today, by the way. A lot of people gave Matt Luke and it was a good day for the Mississippi Made, that whole recruiting philosophy from 2019. It was a good day for them. Although Mingo disappeared again. Basically all the wide receivers, I think, let's see, Jonathan Mingo had a catch, Dontario Drummond had a catch, Snoop Connor had a catch on the screen pass, Ely 1, Elijah Moore 11 for 143, Kenny Yeboah 7 for 181. That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. But I'm excited. And, just to let you know, LSU might be the worst team in the SEC West this year. Arkansas is going to be a test next week. Mississippi State is awful. Just awful. They only scored a safety today against Kentucky on the road in Lexington. Got beat like 24-2. Auburn beat Arkansas on a last-second kick. Missouri just goal line standed and beat LSU, so I enjoyed that thoroughly. LSU is, I've not seen a team go first to worst in college football, but that looks like it could be a possibility. Georgia came back in the second half after a nice first half from Tennessee. They were on the verge of being back, but just not quite there. Florida lost to Texas A&M. Texas A&M looks like they found an identity. Little bit of power run. A little bit of a ground and pound. So that could be interesting to see this year. I don't think they have the offensive fireworks to do what Alabama did today. I don't think any team on our schedule after this week is a guaranteed L. Not saying we're going to win them all. Not going to say we're going to lose them all. But it's not a guaranteed L. Everybody that does the W's and L's and the toss-up games, the absolute worst is it's a toss-up. Vandy looked rough in the rain and got beat by South Carolina. But that's the day that was. It was a terrific football game. Ole Miss scored 48 points. 63-48 loss to Alabama. A loss is a loss. Still stings. It should. But there's a path forward. And people need to realize that. There is a path forward. And there's probably a 3-year path to us being really good. All right. Enjoy the weekend. And I will talk to you Monday with the Palmcast.